Okay, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to class. Just a little bit of clarity. So you have in your booklet, that are sitting in class, you have a summary, concise summary of the lesson I'll be teaching today. This lesson we taught about 3 weeks ago when we came back from school. So I have 4 of my 7th graders and a 6th grader volunteered, and I don't know your name, but thanks for coming and being part of this class. What's your name? Audrey. Okay, so I'm going to interact with my normal 7th graders. This is my room. We're going to teach the class. We're going to do board work, and you're welcome to observe. And I welcome your feedback. Okay, this is not me as a master teacher. This is more interaction, and welcome your feedback. These students actually want to stay and hear what you have to say, so don't be shy. If you see something that you want to correct or something, these students are really eager to hear what the big people have to say. Okay, good morning, students. You have your pencils. Here's your lesson today. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today, students, the last couple of weeks, we have been studying different types of percent formulas, and today we're going to do a review of all of them. So remember, we have this diagram, okay? B times R, percentage equals base times rate. If we're missing the rate, we divide the percentage by the base, and if we're missing the base, we divide the percentage by the rate. Any questions about these 3 formulas? Remember what they are? Okay, a little bit. All right, we're going to set this up here, so hopefully you don't forget. Okay, let's do some review of terms first. How would someone want to volunteer, what is base? How would you describe base? Or what are we talking about here? The whole what? The whole what? The whole number, the whole amount. Okay, good. That'll work. The whole amount. Okay, good. What about rate?
The percentage.
The percentage? Are you sure? The percent. Okay, good. That's one common thing that we get mixed up. Okay, it's the percent number or figure. Okay? I'm going to write figure on the board. All right, and then what is the percentage? Students?
Proportion of the base.
Proportion of the base? Okay. Probably a better word. Part of the whole? Okay, yeah, that'll work. Part of the whole. Okay. Very good. So let's review. So base is the whole amount, the original number. So we can call it several different things. The rate will always have a percent figure. It has a percent sign. All right. And the percentage is going to be part of the whole, or part of the base. All good? Okay. Let's review some of these here. So in this case, if I have this equation on the board, let's first identify the parts of this. Which one, Taylor, is the percentage?
92.
Which one?
92.
This is the percentage? I don't think so. Anybody want to offer another opinion? Huh? The line, the blank. Okay, good. Taylor, you want to try again? Which one's the rate?
27.
27, okay. And where's the base? 92. All right. Okay, so turn your paper over. And you solve this one on your own paper. 27% of 92 is what? You know how to do it? Remember the formula for this one? B times R equals P. Mr. Beachy, can you throw me my calculator here?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What do we have? Any ideas? $24.84, that's correct. 24.84, very good. All right, let's move on to the next one. We're gonna do this a couple times, and we're gonna have you guys come to the board and do it yourself. All right, 42 is what of 120? Brittany, do you know enough to tell me what? Brittany's in 6th grade, so she's volunteering here. Do you know which one's the rate? Do you know, Audrey? Okay, you know. Okay, 7th graders, which one's the rate? The what? The miss, okay, the blank, good. Which one's the percentage? 42. And the base is, of course, this one. Now, how do we find rate? What's the formula? R equals what? Okay, R equals P divided by B. Okay, so the percentage number is going to go in the division box, okay, like this, and we're going to divide it by 120. So take your paper out and work on it. Make sure you put your, you have to annex some zeros here. Make sure you work on that. Got it? Not sure? 35 what? 35%, let's confirm, make sure somebody else can confirm it. You girls know what to do. Just a little bit lost. That's okay. Thanks for being here. Got it? What do you have? Okay, 35%. Good, very nice. All right, let's do the last one. 4 is 2% of what? Okay, Rachel, which one's the percentage? 4. Taylor, where's the base?
Line.
A line with a blank. Karina, which one's, of course, the last one is the rate. Okay, so what's missing, students? Base, the whole number, right? So how do you find base? Divide by what? P divided by R. Okay, all right. So get your paper out. Now, let's make sure something here. We're going to divide by 2%. Is this how I leave it on my paper? So what do I do with this here? How many? Put it to a decimal. That's right. Okay. How do I make this a decimal? Move what 2 places? Where's the decimal right now? Where? Here or here? Here. Okay, so I'm going to move it 2 places, right? So we're going to divide by point like that. Okay? All right, so get your paper out and solve that for me. What do you have? 2? 2.0. Oh. You have 20? 200, that is correct. Answer is 200. Have a decimal problem. Okay. All right. So I forgot about one more thing. Actually, let's do this. Why don't you guys come to the board? And I want to see your work here. So all of you, are you guys just going to hang tight? Okay. All right, you 4 come up here. I'm going to give you some problems. And I want you to do these 3 problems on the board so I can watch your work. Okay. Your base is $90, and your percentage is $3.60. How are you going to find the rate? P goes in the box, okay? Percentage, yeah, good. What is that? It's a new look at this. Okay, so what are we having here?
If I take the zeros off, I have to put a decimal.
Sorry. Okay, so we have 0.04. What does that make us for the rate? 0.04. So what's the rate?
4%.
4%. Okay, erase it. Let's do another one. Your base is 36, and your rate is 6%. Please find the percentage. Base is 36, rate is 6%. Please find the percentage. We're dealing with, I forgot to tell you, sorry, we are dealing with money, so make sure you round it to the nearest penny for the hundreds place, okay? All right, good. All right, so what is it, ladies? $2.16, good. All right, one more. All right, your rate is 7%, and your percentage is $30.24. What is the base? The original number. So, ladies, some of you have some decimal problems. What are you going to do about that? How can the base be smaller than the percentage? That's not going to work. So think about. Yeah. Okay. Dana, what's wrong? What happened? Figure it out. Should come up. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes, Rachel and Anna and Caleb, you have it right. $432. Okay, have a seat. Good work, ladies. Okay, one last thing here. Let's apply some of these concepts to a reading problem. Now I know reading problems is our favorite thing to do, right? Yeah? It's your students' favorite thing to do, right? Reading problems. Okay, let's look at these reading problems. I believe you teachers have them on your paper there as well. Okay, 7th graders. Anna, can you please read the first one there? This isn't numbered right, so that right there. Please read out loud.
One year because of flooding, Dwight could not plant 45 of his 150 tillable acres. What percentage of his land was Dwight unable to plant?
Okay, someone else. What is this problem asking you? What's the ultimate question that it wants to know? The rate. Okay, so the rate is unknown at this point. We have two other numbers. Taylor, which one's the percentage and which one's the base?
45 percentage, 150 base.
45 is the percentage. Okay. and 150 is the base. All right, turn your paper over and work and see if y'all can figure out the rate. P divided by B equals R. P always goes in the box, and then the base is on the, is your divisor. What do you got? What? 3%. Ooh, you sure about that? You have 30%? So which one of you is correct? What do you say, Rachel? 30? Taylor, what is your answer? What is your quotient? That?
Yeah.
Well, that's not. So,
I don't know what that decimal part is.
yeah, but 0.3 is, to make it a percent decimal, what do we do? This is a decimal, we've got to make it a percent decimal, what do we do? Two places. And add a percent sign, so what is it? 30%, yes. Okay. All right, Taylor, please read the next story problem.
Real estate taxes on Uncle David's house are $1,800 per year, or 2% of the value of his house. What is the value of this house?
Rachel, which one? $1,800 represents what?
Base.
The base? That is not correct. Karina, you want to make a suggestion? What does the $1,800 represent? Percentage. Okay, it's part of the whole. We're trying to find out what his whole property is worth. What is the rate? We know what the rate is. What is it? Which one's the rate? Huh? 2%, okay? All right, find the base. How do we find base? P divided by R equals B. Trying to find out what his property is worth, okay? 2% of something equals $1,800. Now, students, this one you can actually do in your head. I know you don't like it when I say that. But it's actually fairly simple to figure this one out mentally. But that's not the class we're teaching today. So, what do you have? $90,000. Very good. Very nice. $90,000. Okay, last one. Karina, please read it out loud.
The was planted on 80% because 60 tillable acres and then how many acres are going to be planted?
All right. Anna, what is the, we have two numbers here. Which one's the rate? 80 what? 80%? Okay, Taylor. The other number, 60, what does that represent? D or P? Probably P. I don't think so. What is it? Yeah.
Base.
Base. Okay. So we need to find P. All right, so what is 80% of 60? Can you do this one in your head? If not, turn your paper over and do it. You should be able to do it in your head. Think about what 80 times 6 is. Huh? 4,800? So we have 60 acres. We're only going to do part of our acres, and we're going to suddenly multiply with thousands of more acres. 48. Okay. So we're going to plant 48 of our acres. Okay, we don't have an assignment for you today because you guys are being gracious students, but that'll be the end of class. You have any questions before you're all dismissed? No? One last thing I'd like for you to do. On the top of your paper, go ahead and draw our little diagram here so you can remember and use it in your lesson. Here, okay? Remember, when you're trying to find something to say base is missing, P divided by R. R is missing, P divided by B. If P is missing, B times R. Any questions? All right. You will go back to your desk or be dismissed, whatever you do. All right. Now, you guys, be critical. Any comments, questions, concerns? These students would love to hear feedback. What mistakes do we make? What things could we have done better? Excuse me.
Bring like greater realization for decimal awareness. I mean, I find it in my class as well. It just, the decimals, it's in the right spot maybe half the time.
Yeah.
How do you just bring awareness to moving decimal places and keeping these together?
You know, especially with percents. Okay, so you notice some of the students had issues with that, and that wasn't necessarily the focus of the class. I figured that was going to come up. That wasn't necessarily the focus of the class today, but good question. I had the same issues. What do y'all do when your students, like here, they were telling me, you know, 4,800. How do you bring awareness to what's going on here? Any comments? What do you do? Yes.
Sometimes you have to back off. Like if you're in the thing, you're trying to follow the steps, and you're so focused on that, you're not really understanding what the question is about. You know, this is actually talking about planting acres, and you have to tell students to back off and look at the question and ask yourself, does this make sense?
Have you ever said that?
But it's hard to do if you're
I can pick up
focusing on
these-
the little steps.
Yeah, no.
You see the big picture.
I'm just pointing out that ultimately the same here. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I forget your name.
Derek.
Derek, yeah. Especially when we do the reading problems, is slow down. What is the ultimate thing it's asking? And like here, we have 60 acres. We're gonna do less than all of it. So it's gonna have to be smaller than 60. This answer just does not make sense. Think about what you did, right? Now, they may have done that on purpose. I'm not sure. These students are normally a little bit more lively, and I'm sure they were plotting my demise here, but that's okay. That's good. More comments. So, back to you. What's your name?
Chase.
Chase. How do you deal with, making that a decimal? How do you have your students remember it's 2 decimal places? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. So let's hear from you guys. When your students, how do you make this a decimal? We call this a percent decimal, then we change it to a decimal. So that's our terminology. But maybe you use something different. Any comments? Brian, what do you do?
Just drill the 2 places, and all I know to do is just, anytime you go from a percent to a decimal, it's 2 places, and you just gotta ingrain it.
Do they forget to add zeros sometimes?
Mm-hmm.
Like they might do this, but they forget to do. So this is one thing I do. I do the loop-de-loop. I'm sure y'all do too. And I tend to be pretty dramatic with it. Just always 2 places. You have to add zeros sometimes.
I haven't come up with any other quick to stick it in their brain other than just 2 places.
Okay. Good. Yes, ma'am.
Something I mentioned to students before is like looking at the percent sign.
Mm-hmm.
We have like a zero, kind of like a zero on top and on bottom.
Yeah.
So there's 2 of those. And if it is a percent already, the percent line is slanted the direction that we are moving the decimal.
I like that. It's very nice. Thank you. And 2 zeros, 2 decimal places. Thank you. All right. I love it. Write that down, people. That's very good. Thank you. You students got that? Yeah. It's going to roll down the hill and move that way. Got it? All right. More comments?
Another thing, if they know their decimal places, you can teach, instead of saying 3%, say 300ths. Yeah.
So do you drill that? I'm curious. I don't, but you do.
Did.
You're not teaching right now? Does anyone else drill the 300ths? That's probably something we're or I'm weak on, is doing for that. I just think percents and forget to drill the places. More feedback, comments? Yes.
I have 2 questions for the class.
Please,
So
do.
the
This is
first
interactive.
question would be,
So ladies, he's talking to you.
out of a class like today, what's the hardest part of the class? Was it the terms? Was it the decimal points? What's the hardest part to learning this concept? Or you're just all great students and a piece of cake?
Oh, they're great students. What do you think? What's the hardest part there? You can normally talk more than this. What do you think, Rachel?
It doesn't.
The decimals? Keeping track of your decimals? What do you think, Anna? I know reading problems are harder for you. Keeping track of what, I picked some fairly easy ones. Do you know about your answer for Brian? Brian's taught you before, right? I didn't even think of that. Hopefully you're making me proud of there. Decimals of moving them, going which way, or it doesn't matter. Both ways. It's a lot to get track of.
So the second question for them is, if they could set up the most fun math class or their favorite math class, would they do all board work? Would they do sitting and listening? What to them is the easiest and the best type of math class to have?
You got an opinion, Brittany? Do it on the board. Okay, Brittany says on the board, what do you say on the period say?
I mean, provided there's not a bunch of adults watching.
So do you understand what he's asking? Do you prefer to hear the lecture and then go figure it out on your own? Or do you prefer to do it on the board and let the teacher guide you through that, correct your mistakes? Which one do you prefer? You like it on the board? Most of you would agree? I try to do that. Not every, especially when it's a lesson geared mostly towards like reading problems or mental, it's a little harder to do that. But I try to do at least something on the board every day. Have them do it so I can see their mistakes. And the issue is I have actually 9 7th graders. The rest of them were too scared to come today. So we fill up both whiteboards. What do you think, Audrey? You like doing board work? You do? Yeah. Okay, any more comments on that? Yeah, go ahead. Did you?
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. I'm trying to do more board work. I'm having good success with it, actually teaching them new concepts by actually not talking to them ahead of time and simply go to the board and I talk them through it as they solve the problem and they seem to enjoy it much more and I'm having good success. So that's where I was coming from with the question.
I know there's probably a wide variety of curriculums in this room, a wide variety of, some of you do probably a lot more self-learning, self-study, instead of lecture. So that's fine. I would still encourage you, like Brian is saying, even if your students are doing, if you have a full classroom and you're busy, at least find times a couple times a week to have them do some board work. Just actually watch what they're doing. The other thing we do is we have little whiteboards that they can have at their desk, and they often just do with a marker, just do that. Some of them even, we let them write with this marker, they can write on the desk and just erase it. So it's good to see it's good as a teacher to see what's going on, what are some concepts you're struggling with. And you go on the board, it helps out a lot. Okay. We have a little bit of time here, a few more minutes. Number 3, I had some other things related to percent concepts that I'd like your feedback on, any more tips or comments. So, you guys can stay. You want to stay? You're done. You're out of here. Okay. Thank you, ladies, for participating. So down here, how do you deal with the concept of more than 100%? Your students struggle with that concept. How do you have more of something that, any comments on that? Do they struggle with that? Or is that fairly easy to?
biggest thing for my students is just the decimal point and to understand where to move it when you're working with it, calculating.
It's, when we're dealing with over 100%, is we're comparing, it's comparison. It's not that I can be two people, that I can be 200%. Wait, Nate here probably or something. I don't know. Yeah, okay, so that's another one that takes, but yeah, the decimals again is really key here. What about these fractions, what about the fractional percents? Again, the decimals are coming into play here, but what are some tricks here? This is kind of to me, it's a little bit of a multi-step process to get this to something, unless you're doing it mentally, to get this into a decimal where we can actually multiply something or divide something. How do you walk them through those steps?
CLE would, on a problem like that, at least in the beginning, would always give them 2 blanks to fill in. Now, that's, CLE where they've got writing in the book, but they would have 2 blanks. They would expect the first blank to be switching the fraction to the decimal itself, and then the second blank would be where they actually move the decimal point and turn it into a true decimal.
Like that.
And I struggle with knowing what terms to call it to tell them as I teach them, but the first one I think I would tend to refer to as a decimal percent. And then
This
the
one?
second one, yeah,
This one or this one?
the second one, that would be
Decimal
fractional percent.
This
then
is
a
fractional,
decimal percent,
decimal.
and then a true decimal would kind of be my terms for it. But CLE would give them the 2 blanks to help them see that it's a 2-step process.
Yeah. Again, it comes back to moving decimals. Moving it, it's always 2 places. But again, the common thing they do is make this 5%, and then instead of 0.5%. But again, who mentioned it? I think it was Derek, coming back to knowing your places. Like this is the 100th place, percent has to do, means 100th. So anything on this side of it is going to be part of the 100th. So, no good. Any comments, feedback on this? Any tips or tricks? Mark, you've done this a long time.
Well, I did. One thing that I think of this kind of abstract here, where you can pull in other
That's fine.
angles, but
It's open discussion now.
yeah, percent means part of the 100. Well, the Bible talks about the centurion. We talk about centuries of 100 years. We talk about 100th place, and if you could start communicating some of those concepts of connection, to me, when you learn other languages, if you could get some of this stuff, it just helps you hang information out there, and it makes sense.
Good, I like that. So bringing in, some of you may have to do that outside of your textbook. And some of that comes from experience, but bringing in those things that are helpful. And try different things with your class. Different classes, different children struggle with different concepts. So, good. Go, flip your page over. I want to talk a little bit about, again, multi-step reading problems. I assume that those are your students' favorite thing to do. And there's always joy and cheer on their faces when it's not listening. I'm being sarcastic, I hope you know that. How do you, I'd like to talk about story, I don't know what you call it, I call it reading problems, story problems, whatever. What do you do when they groan about them? How do you as a teacher, what are you doing to help them understand the importance of these real life scenarios? Any comments? Do you love story problems? So you do. So how do you help them? So because you love them, it's just.
That doesn't mean they automatically love them. I have not figured out how to get them to like that.
So that passion hasn't spilled over yet? No. What you gonna do?
I try to get them to the practicality of it. I tell them, I give them an example in real life, how I would use this in construction or something like that. and it helps them to visualize it and see it as actually practical.
That's, yes.
So, one thing that I like doing is, find it, like, take, like, even like sales discounts or something like that, and find what they're interested in, and then, you know, you can make a story problem pretty quick about, you know, whatever it might be that they really like doing, and do it that way.
Good. I like that. That's very key. Yes, ma'am.
So one thing, from a mom's perspective,
Yeah.
having to help them at home
Yeah,
sometimes.
okay, yeah, good.
If, obviously teachers don't take a lot to know a student, but if you know how they learn, that helps. With our children, some learn better just by watching, some learn by hearing. So if you know some of those individualities, that can help. Then you might have to watch you write it out on the board, or just, there's some of those things that can help too, which, yeah, if you don't, then you just ask.
Thank you. Good feedback. No, that's probably why I had them read it out loud. I have found that students, they usually, once they hear them, you know, I tell them, okay, just read it. Well, you know, students, their eyes are all over the place, so they're not reading it. Especially when there's unnecessary information. Okay. And I usually read it out loud, because that starts to make, you start making a connection. No, good. And I agree with you, Aaron. I make up stories all the time. I tend to forget sometimes to even teach the class what's in the book, because I'm over here applying. People, some of the students, their dad, James Martin, has the Old Country Store, and we can, all sorts of markup, and, you know, yeah, there's all sorts of things too. Rachel, of course, her mom does the jelly, and James Martin buys the jelly. So there's all sorts of stories you can make up. I don't know the actual numbers, of course, but, you know, and do the real life scenarios and help them understand. I try to tell them every time we have a reading program, look, it's real life. This is what you're going to use. The 7th and 8th grade level is, everybody's going to use it, one way or another. It's super practical. We do a little bit of reading problems in our curriculum every day. So that just kind of keeps that going. Okay, more comments about anything specifically about multi-step reading problems? Can you make them write all the steps out? I have more questions than answers. What do you do with students? Let me ask you this. I'm trying to figure out how to word this question. What do you do when you have a class and some of the students are doing the mental gymnastics in their head and don't want to write anything down, or bare minimum writing down? 99% of the time they're right. Do you force them to write stuff down, or go ahead? I want to hear from you guys.
So what I've come to do is, if it's a process where I want them to make sure they know the process, like with a formula, I require the number sentence. So if we're doing area or perimeter of a rectangle, I want to see the number sentence of 2 times 6 plus 2 times 8. And then if they do everything else in their head and put the answer down, I'm okay with it, because I see that they've got the process. I've had students that can do stuff in their head that I can't. And in processes that make no sense to me, at least at first glance. But to me, in real life, that's a skill. And I don't want to detract from that, because I'm a very analytical. I love to write steps and solve algebra problems. But other students, they can do stuff in their head. And to me, that's an advantage. I look at it. If they can learn the process, I let them do it in their head. I say, I want to see that you know the process, and I want to see right answers. That's what I want to see. But that's just where I've gone with it.
Good. Derek, you had your hand up. No, I pushed for, you saw, I did a little bit, the mental stuff, because the sooner my current class doesn't like mental stuff, okay? There's 1 or 2 of them that can do it a little bit. The rest of them, they sit there and, well, last problem, you didn't need to do it on the board. It's 2% of what equals something, 190,000. But you have to teach them that. But doing it mentally, I tell them, look, this stuff will serve you well. And this may be a little bit, we don't normally talk about like this way as Anabaptist people, but I said, in my experience in the business world and other places, it's an asset to be the smartest person in the room. Now, I mean that in the right way, okay? Don't shoot me here. But what I mean is, when you're dealing with business, when you're dealing with life, there's no shame in that you can figure it out. And not to be smart, a know-it-all. But as adults, we've all been in situations where we're trying to figure stuff out, and we're trying to remember our 7th grade math. These common scenarios, like base rate, distance rate, time, know those things. Know which way to do it in business, profit, loss, the markup, okay? Know what to divide back to, just know it. And if you can know that stuff, maybe use it on a calculator. Maybe not all, you can't do all those fancy numbers in your head, but you're sitting there and, trying to figure out profit and, cost of goods on this. Anyways, so it becomes very handy. It's an asset, a marketable skill to be someone that can know what to do with all the numbers and how they all fit together. One last thing here, proportions. So if you look down, I think you have it on the bottom there. Again, this is a little bit off the percent thing. What do you do with proportions? So this one here, so take a minute to read it here. So this one, I picked this one on purpose because there's something interesting about this one. Does anybody know what's the common mistake students are going to make on this one? Anybody know?
As it involves the total.
It involves the total, correct. How do you help them understand that concept? Because what are they going to want to do, Brian?
They're gonna wanna go 3/2 and X over 20 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
that's what they're gonna do. Or 2 over, it doesn't matter. Yeah, and they're not gonna put labels on, right, because they're students. And they're gonna solve it and be all proud of themselves, so they got this weird, it's gonna be, what is it, 30. So, what do y'all do here when you're trying to teach them totals? What do you do, Derek? You understand what we're asking here?
But I would tell them, well, there's gonna be five students per group. 3 of those students are 6th graders and 2 of them are 7th graders. So there's gonna be groups of 5 students. How many groups is it gonna take to equal 20 students?
Okay, I get that, but I still don't understand it. I'm gonna push back, no, you're great. I'm gonna be a student. How do you know there's a group?
Because
I'm
there's
gonna push back on you just a little.
Sure, there's 3 6th graders for every 2 7th graders. So it's 3 6th graders and 2 7th graders.
I'm supposed to do a ratio of 2 to 3.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
No, but that's fine.
So you could also take that as a instead of a proportion, have it to be like a fraction, 3/2 times 20.
Yeah. No,
I think.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's the easiest way, or not easiest way? What are some key things in this story problem that you can teach your student that this is going back to what Derek said, how do we know that this is a group and a total? What are some key words, what are some phrases to look for here? How do we know this is a total problem? You're teachers, you know it, but is there a certain phrase, or what should the student look for? Be a little technical, but I'm just curious if anybody has words of wisdom here.
Well, the one thing to find I guess the base would be 20 students in the room. I mean, that just gives you an idea of a whole number there.
Okay, so for me, it's in the last 2 sentences because it's asking 20, and I need to know how many are in 7th grade. So if I'm a responsible student, like I'm supposed to be doing, it's asking me this. And I put labels up here like I'm supposed to. I'm not in a hurry, and so I'm gonna put my total up here. And so right away I can see, okay, so now I need to compare 7th grade to, so it would be 2 over 5. Because I put my label up here. If I didn't put my label over here and I try to write down 6th graders over here, my labels won't line up. So I really try to drill labels. I said, you really need to label your proportions. Now again, this is an area where students do the gymnastics in their head. But I think this is a good key, remember Brian said, have them write it out. They can see the relationship between it. Now this one, of course, you can do it in your head. You know, it's 8 7th graders. Yeah. Comments, questions?
What I sometimes do is look at the question first before you even read the whole story problem. That way they know what to figure out. Like on this one as well, it's 20 students in the room, okay, what room? And then here we have the question, how many are 7th graders? So we don't know how many 7th graders there are. But we do know how many 6th graders because it's asking for the 7th.
Okay, good. I like that. So starting, we're almost done. Starting at the end and asking, what is the ultimate question here? That's, I like it. Thank you, sir. I do the same thing. Slow down. What is it ultimately asking you? And there you can kind of work backwards. What do I need to solve this answer? Because once I know what I'm working towards, I think the students feel more comfortable. And they know if the answer is reasonable. Good. Any questions or comments before we dismiss here? Any other questions you have about another concept? Any more feedback on what happened up here? Anything that you noticed? Yes.
Even sticking with story problems, I teach 6th grade BDCLE at our school, and my students look at it, it's a long story problem, I need help. They don't even read it, they need help right away. How do I get them to be more independent and actually learn to problem solve themselves? Especially if it's a multi-step one, they're going to be like, nope, there's 7 numbers in here, I'm confused.
Okay, you heard her. I'm sure all of you can relate. What do you do? So do you help them right away?
I often have them read it to me, and then we'll work from there, but at this point, like I said, probably helping them too much, but.
What do you do, Andrew?
Make them read it out loud.
Okay.
Read it out loud.
And then ask, what are we trying to figure out here?
Is this in class or one-on-one? I don't know your school setup, but is it like 6 of them sitting up here and they ask for help, or is it at their
No,
desk?
I have 16 students, they're all their own desks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be going.
So they're doing their own work?
Yeah.
Do you have class with them, or is it more individual learning?
We teach the new part and they do their whole lesson by themselves.
So get to the reading problems. Reading out loud is key. I mean, I know some of you guys are really super busy. Your classroom may be fairly chaotic. But if you can find time to have them read it out loud, maybe read it aloud to another student. I don't do a lot of collaboration with math. I avoid it like the plague. You can do what you want, but math is one thing they need to work out on their own. Another thing I do is I often just make them do it, all of us. I'm not going to help you until you have the whole lesson done. After the lesson's done, come see me, and we'll check it out. But I want you to at least try. I don't care if you have the wrong number. I do care, but that's not the point. I don't care if you got 2 and it's supposed to be 200. Sit down, and most of the time, I mean, more times than not, they can figure it out. So I would encourage you to, push them a little bit, let them sweat a little bit. But don't be too easy on all those things. Again, ask them what the ultimate question, maybe lead them down the pathway, ask them what the ultimate question is, help them realize that, go finish it. What do you do with story problems are awesome. What do you do with this unnecessary information? That's always a fun day too. Do you make them cross it out? Do you, any feedback on that? How do you identify the unnecessary information? Again, in real life. You have something?
Just gotta be smart about it.
Just gotta be smart about it.
Just figure it out.
I'll ask them, is there, so what are the numbers we're gonna be using, and what are not the numbers, which numbers are we not gonna use? And
So to do that, you need to know what the ultimate question is. I often help them, so what are we gonna be doing here? Multiplication, division, subtraction, what are keywords? And help them decide what's the ultimate question, what mathematical procedures are we going to use. And from that, once you get them started on that path, they realize, oh, I don't really need to know about grandpa's 20 water bottles. It's nothing to do. It took me, we're doing a distance rate time, you know, it took us how long it took us to get to grandpa's farm that had 20 water bottles. Well, I don't even know about the 20 water bottles, right? Or whatever the crazy scenario. I love how they trick them sometimes. So, okay, it's 10:20. Thank you all so much for participating and letting the students. They were a little nervous, but I think they survived. Appreciate your feedback, and I like that percent thing. I'm gonna put that in my toolbox, and that was worth coming to class for. So, thank you all so much. I think you have your schedule. You know where to go. So, have a great day. Blessings on your teaching.